Yeah, hi everyone. Uh, First of all, thanks to all of those who could make it and who have shown their interest in participating in today's discussion. Hope everyone is keeping safe and keeping healthy. Niti Nyaya was getting a lot of queries with respect to the salary, what will happen to the wages, what will happen to my rent, what will be the status of my employment after the lockdown, what will be the nature of my contract, will I be have to discharge my legal obligations mentioned in the contract. So keeping that in mind, we decided to have today's discussion and hope that all of you will find it informative and useful. First of all, let me give you a brief background. Niti Nyaya is a litigation firm which apart from litigation looks into public interest causes as well. So we have participants from across the diverse backgrounds. We have academicians, we have people from bank, we have uh, businessmen, we have senior executives, we have students with us, we have fellow colleagues, and the expectations as people are from diverse backgrounds is also very diverse. So some are looking for a healthy discussion, some are looking for the legal status, some are looking for the what will be the recommendations, how I can sail through. So we have tried to design the today's discussion in such a manner that it caters to everybody and it caters to all the expectations that we received in the form that we shared. So the rules of the game I have shared already. Those who joined earlier are that you all have been muted. We will open up for discussion after the session is over. In case of any query, you can raise your hands or you can park your questions. And if you like something, you have one expression of clapping. You can clap and express yourself. So the presentation has been designed in such a manner that it will cover the following aspects: type of employees, difference between a salary and wage, worker and workman, the notification dated 29th of March issued by Ministry of Home Affairs. Why this notification is important is because this notification is the genesis of the contention, or it is the bone of contention between the employer and the employee, whether the employer whether the employee is entitled for his wages or not, and then whether this notification is advisory in nature or is it mandatory in nature, whether the notification issued under the National Disaster Management Act and Epidemic Diseases Act, will it override all the other business legislations or not. Can an employer lay off some of his employees at this point of time when there is an economic slowdown, when all the business activities are stopped? My second part of the discussion will contract how and if whether I can get away with my legal obligations mentioned in the contract or not. How will the clause force majeure? What is force majeure, first of all? How it can come to my rescue? Under what conditions it can come to my rescue? And what are the ingredients to invoke such a clause? We will look at that aspect as well. And for those in whose contract this clause is not mentioned, then what is the remedy I have? Can I still get away with my legal obligations or not? Then the recommendations. The Niti Nyaya gives you recommendations, what should be done and what has to be done if you are facing such kind of problem. Types of employees, as we know, the full-time employees, the part-time employees, they're contractual employees. As the name itself signifies, it needs no further elaboration. We have full-time, those who are employed on full-time basis, then we have part-time, and then there are people who are on contractual basis. Then What is the difference between a salary and wages? Salary is something, compensation, which is given on an annual basis. Wages is something which is given on an hourly basis. So why this difference between salary and wage? That will become clear as we move ahead during the course of our discussion. Because the word mentioned in that notification is a wage and not a salary. So the notification is silent with respect to salary. So that gives me room to address the concerns about senior executives, middle level executives, and even employees, those who are not getting wages, that they are out of the ambit of this notification and they cannot enforce their rights through this notification. Then we come to difference between a workman and a worker. Again, why this difference has been captured is because of that, again, notification, because that notification uses the word worker and not the workman. Now, what is difference between workman and worker? Workman has been defined under the Industrial Disputes Act 1947, which includes employees who are at a managerial or in a supervisory role. So, or senior executives, they're out of the ambit of this definition. And then any employee who's working in an organization, factory, middle level organization, micro, small, medium, they all come under the definition of a worker. It has been defined through Indian Factories Act. So every worker is a workman, but every workman is not a worker. And then comes the notification. What is that notification which brings us all together in today's discussion? As you can read for yourself, it is actually one of the clauses in that notification which says that the employer shall make the payment of wages to their workers. The word used is shall, and how it is mandatory that we will discuss, and how it overrides all other legislations that also we will discuss. Now, anything which emanates from the National Disaster Management Act is mandatory in nature. Why it is mandatory in nature? Because it takes the form of, it is the notifications which are issued during these times. They are not advisory, but they are mandatory in nature. And in case somebody violates them, then you have legal force behind them. You can initiate criminal prosecution under section 188. You can have penalties imposed in case of violation. Although I'm trying to keep the discussion both for legal background as well as people from the non-legal background as well. So, and then what is difference between special and general legislation? So since this is my first webinar, so you can pardon me in case of any technical glitches, or if it is too technical for a non-legal background. The special legislation, or the NDMA, National Disaster Management Act, and the Epidemic Diseases Act, these are all special legislations. So special legislation will override all the general legislations. General legislations we have Industrial Disputes Act, Indian Factories Act, and so forth, which cater to the labor legislation actually. Then the question that comes to the mind of an employer, can I take an excuse of section 25? I will explain what does the section talk about, so that I can lay off some of my workers, or I can lay off some of my employees. The section 25 says that no employer can lay off without taking the permission of the government until and unless it's a natural calamity. Now the question is that since COVID-19 is a disaster and not a natural calamity, hence no employer can take an excuse of section 25 of this particular act. And that is the reason we have that notification in place. Now, what is the legal status of the notification? This notification has been challenged on two grounds. First, that it violates the equal work, equal pay principle. Second, no work, no pay principle. And these two principles emanates from Article 14, which talks about right to equality, and Article 39 of the Constitution. So the three petitions which are pending before the Apex Court One is from the Mumbai, that is Nagrika Exports Limited. The other one is from Karnataka, that is Ficus Packs Private Limited. And the third one is from Punjab, which is filed by Ludhiana Hand Tools Association. So the outcome of this is awaited, and I hope that government of the day would have done its homework before issuing that notification. Now I come to the second part of the discussion, which is what will be the fate of the contracts which were executed before the lockdown. Will I be bound to discharge my legal obligations under the contract, or can I get away with my legal obligations under the contract? So the answer to all these queries lies in the clause force majeure. Now, what is force majeure? It is when either affected party is not able to perform its obligation due to an event beyond its control or which is unforeseen. Like you have a war like situation, you have change in economic or business policy, or in case of natural calamity like earthquake, flood, tsunami, or you have riots taking place, or there is a strike called off by the employees. So the government of the day has declared this event COVID-19 as a force majeure. A force majeure does not find any place in the Indian Contract Act, but it has an import from the Roman law. However, Indian judiciary recognizes this clause for the purpose of adjudication. Now, there are three aspects to this clause. First is that the event under which you are taking an excuse should be declared as a force majeure event. And luckily, COVID-19 has been declared as a force majeure event. Now, the second question which comes to anybody's mind is that how can I invoke this clause? There are three options. Either you can keep your contract under suspension till the situation normalizes, or you can terminate your contract, or third is you can renegotiate your contract. So in order to invoke force majeure clause, the affected party, depending upon the details of the clause, has to issue notice to the other party that I am not in a position, I am being prohibited or I am being hindered in able to discharge my obligation under the contract, and hence I will not be able to perform my duty or my obligations till the situation normalizes. Now, this will depend from a case-to-case basis. This will depend from facts to facts. If suppose there is a contract for the supply, if there is a contract for the supply of masks, if there is a contract for the supply of sanitizers, then obviously nobody can think of invoking this clause. So as I said, it will vary from situation to situation. Recently, Bombay High Court, precisely on 8th of April, it decided against an importer. The importer said, I want to invoke this clause because I am not able to distribute the steel which was imported from the other countries. Now the supplier said, I have provided you the steel. Steel falls under the essential items. There is no prohibition. There is no hindrance for you to distribute the steel. So hence the court said that, sorry, this is not the situation where you will invoke this kind of a clause. On the opposite side, Delhi High Court upheld in the Halliburton Offshore Private Limited versus Vedanta. In this case, Vedanta wanted to invoke the bank guarantees given by Halliburton Offshore Services Private Limited. And these bank guarantees were given in lieu of that if in case he fails, the company fails to complete the work, and the work which was assigned was drilling for the petroleum products. So Halliburton said that I could have completed the drilling work provided there was no lockdown. But the Vedanta was adamant that otherwise it will defeat the financial liability of the project. So the court upheld that since the situation is of a force majeure kind, it granted time to the petitioner, that is Halliburton Services Private Limited, for 1 week beyond 3rd of May. That is the time when the lockdown is getting over. Now, question which can come to anybody's mind is that what if this kind of clause is not there in my contract, how will I discharge my liability? Or can I get away with my liability or not? So then what comes to rescue is frustration of contract. There are two sections, section 32 and section 56. Section 32 of the Indian Contract Act, it talks about the contingent contracts. Contingent contracts are those contracts happening of which have to be preceded by some other event. Suppose A enters into a contract with B on the condition that B will supply goods to A, and A further will use that goods to manufacture product X. Now, if B fails to provide that goods to A will not be able to discharge his liability of supplying the goods X. So then the contract will become void in case the B is not able to provide the goods. Now, the second part is section 56. Suppose there was an event which was organized for a wedding or let's say birthday party on 20th of April. Now that event becomes void, that contracts become void. Why it becomes void? Because that event could not take place due to the lockdown. Hence, the affected party, that is the party who was organizing this event, can take the plea of frustration of contract. The contract itself becomes frustrated because of the prevailing situation, and it can get away with its liability of holding that event. Now the second thing is that a contract which is made becomes impossible. That some event takes place after the contract takes place, and because of that event it becomes impossible to perform the obligations mentioned in the contract. I give you an example. Suppose A decides to ship cargo to B. B is in a different country, A is in a different country. The country A enters into a war. Now A cannot supply the cargo or the goods to come to B. So that contract subsequently becomes void because of the situation which arises later on. So there are a lot of contracts which becomes void because of the impossibility of the performance. So one can take excuse of the frustration of contract in case that clause is not mentioned in the contract. Now the recommendations which Niti Nyaya proposes in these conditions with respect to the salary, with respect to wages, with respect to the status of employment, with respect to rent, and with respect to the contract would be that engage with your partner. Tell your partner that I am dealing with so and so problem, that I am not in a position to discharge my obligation, although I want to discharge my obligation because of the conditions of the lockdown. So that your partner is informed. B, keep record of the communication. That is very essential, because tomorrow, God forbid, if the other party enters into a litigation, then you should have the communication ready that I invoked the clause of force majeure. I informed the other party that sorry, I am not in a position to discharge my obligations under the contract. So kindly bail me out. So third, which is very important, which usually people miss out, that the affected party has to show that it took all efforts to mitigate the losses. And these efforts should be conveyed to the other party. Then, since these are tough times, it is not prudent to go into litigation. So what we propose is that one should enter into restructuring of the contract, or one should renegotiate with the other party. If it is a landlord-tenant relationship, you may renegotiate the rent. If it's an employer and employee relationship, you may renegotiate the salary structure, and so on and so forth. Now, I would like to thank Team Niti Nyaya for organizing this discussion in these tough times. Although we will try to address all the queries of every participant, in case there are some queries which are left out due to paucity of time, then you can write to us or you can call us. We will be more than happy to take your queries on an individual basis. I hope this discussion would prove useful and informative to everybody. Yeah, we have question from Naman.
Yes, sir. So my query is whether the employees can claim their monthly wages in case of absence of any express clause with reference to any natural disaster or pandemic in a contract with the employer.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Naman. Definitely, this notification will come to the rescue of the employee, which says that it is binding on all the employers to pay the wages to their employees. I hope it answers your query.
Yes, yes. And one more query I am having
Yes.
that can one may claim suspension of rent for the period of non-availability of rented premises due to closure of markets on account of COVID-19 outbreak?
Yeah, yes, Naman, that's another very good question, and I would like to answer on in two parts. First is the legal aspect to it. Second will be the non-legal aspect to it. The legal aspect is that the contract is between landlord and tenant, right? And in case of force majeure or in case of frustration, the object of the contract should become impossible. Here, the object of the contract remains as it is without becoming impossible. So, tenant cannot get away with his liability of non-payment of rent by invoking this clause. Although the tenant can invoke this clause against his business partners, but per se, since, and one more aspect is that if the contract becomes onerous or if it hits your profitability, then you cannot invoke this clause. This clause is a very special clause. It is meant for special circumstances. So you can only invoke if you are not able to perform your part of the contract. Now the tenant in this case has to prove that whether he is not in a position to pay the rent or whether he is only taking an alibi of this clause. I hope it answers your query, Naman.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. We have a question from Mohit. Yeah, Mohit.
Good evening.
Go
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mohit.
First of all, sir, thanks for organizing a wonderful session.
And thank you all for participation.
Sir, if I am totally dependent on salary, my only source of income is salary, then my employer is legally bound to pay my salary.
As far as notification is concerned, it only talks about wages. It is silent on salary. So if somebody is withdrawing a salary of 50 lakhs, then that fellow cannot go to the employer and say, boss, you cannot reduce my salary. So obviously there will be restructuring of the salary. And since we are getting a lot of queries on that aspect, a lot of employees are getting their salary structure. There is a revision in the salary structure of a lot of employees. So I can understand that that's the only source of income. However, employer can restructure your salary during this time.
And sir, if he denied to restructure my salary, then I have any legal rights against him?
No, you mean to say if the employer decides to terminate your employment?
Yes, sir.
Then again, that notification is only applicable to applicable in terms of wages, not in terms of salary. So that is the purpose behind that, was to help out the workers, migrant workers, who will not be able to sustain themselves during this lockdown period. Otherwise, this lockdown itself will become infructuous. So the idea was that they can sustain themselves during this lockdown period. So that is why I think purposefully this salary has been omitted from that notification.
Okay. So, sir, there is no legal duty on employer. It's only a moral duty.
Yes. There is a moral obligation only. There is no statutory obligation which the employer has to discharge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm getting a lot of queries through a chat. There is a possibility of misuse of the force majeure clause. Yeah, Zoya is asking that do you think there is a possibility of misuse of the force majeure clause? Yes, definitely there is a huge possibility that people will invoke this clause. Like in case of I mentioned you in case of an importer, so he wanted to invoke that clause, citing the reason that I will not be able to distribute the steel which he imported, but the court held it otherwise. Since steel comes under an essential item, so there was no prohibition, no hindrance from that importer in discharging its obligations towards the suppliers. Then there is a question from Siddharth. If an employee is working from home but does not have enough work to do, can I pay him or her based on the estimated working hours? Definitely yes, Siddharth. The idea is that there is no statutory obligation on you to pay him if he is not working. It's only a moral obligation for you. What I propose is that it gives an opportunity for both the employer and the employee to rework on their relationship. How? If employer pays him the salary, the employee is likely to be retained in that organization for till the time the situation normalizes. And at the same time, employee recognizes the employer that in these tough times, I was being paid by my employer. So there can be a restructuring worked upon so that it's a win-win situation for both the employer as well as the employee. I hope it answers your query. Any more questions? Yeah, there is one question from, if force majeure clause is not mentioned in the employment contract, so can company on the basis of this pandemic situation terminate the employment? Yes, definitely. If force majeure clause is not mentioned, uh, force majeure clause is not mentioned. Here the employer can take an excuse that since it has hit its profitability, since he is not in a position to discharge his financial obligations, so then in that light I am terminating the employment of my employee. Again, connecting back to the previous question, it will be the moral obligation of the employer to not to terminate the employment of an employee and yet retain him as an employee by restructuring on his salary. Force majeure clause is mainly used where you have a contract. Yeah, then there is a question from Yuvraj Singh. If any employee refuses to have his salary negotiated, can his services be terminated by the employer? Yeah, it will be entirely between you and the employer. If employer thinks that he is not in a position, let's say you have 100 rupees and there are 15 people, you will distribute them accordingly, or you will restructure, you will try to give it to the most performing employee or the highest performing employee at this point of time. So I think it is prudent on the part of the employee also to look for the restructured salary, not to be adamant in the previous salary, given the situation outside or given the market condition also. Then there is a question from Mohit again. It says, if pandemic is not included in of the contract, can employer invoke force majeure clause during? The government has already recognized COVID-19 situation as force majeure. So there remains no room for discussion or no room for contention on that aspect. Yes, if that clause is not mentioned explicitly in the contract, then you can rely upon frustration of contract, which I discussed in my presentation. Then there is question from Then there is question from Harmeet. Can the wages of workers of a private limited company be restructured, or the employer is under a compulsion to pay wages in full? No, wages have to be paid in full. That is what the notification says. There can be no restructuring on the wages, because wages by nature are so that it is meant for workers only, so that they can sustain their daily wage workers, your housekeeping staff. So those who are relying upon that money. So we have one question from Sudamini from Assam. It says that, is moral obligation defined anywhere? The term can have various interpretations which can become contradictory in many cases. Your moral obligations is not defined anywhere in any dictionary. It is whether you are morally right or morally wrong. So there is no room for interpretation to that. It is my moral obligation to take care of dog on the street, but that is, I am not legally, there is no legal compulsion on me to take care of the dog on the street. So if that analogy helps you, then there is a question from Yuvraj again. Now there is a question from COVID-19. I don't know who is he. Is it binding on the companies to mention force majeure clause in their employment contract? Now this situation has actually given an opportunity to everyone to re-look at the contracts and have this clause incorporated in their contracts. Now it can be a sword as well as a shield. Now the affected party can use it as a shield, whereas the other party can use it as a sword. So it depends on which side you are. Then there is a question from Yuvraj Singh. Can the workers be paid less than the stipulated minimum wages for skilled and unskilled workers? The state government defines the salary. No, salary you can any day you can restructure. There is no binding that you cannot restructure the salary, but wages, as per the notification, you cannot restructure the wages. It has to be paid as they are. Then there is question from Zoya. Do you see more employer-employee mediation in the future? I had a client calling in who was laid off. Okay, that can be taken up privately. That's some. And then there is a question from Sheetal. She says that if any employee is working reduced hours, can an employer pay reduced salary? Yes, definitely. Why not? You can restructure your salary in the present circumstances. Definitely, yes. Then there is a question from Ajit. If an employee is not doing work from home, can his job be sacked? Definitely, yes. Provided he is not a worker. Any feedback? Any further questions? There is one question from Kanishk. Kanishk, okay, that's meant for me only. Kanishk, I will address you. He is an architect. And then there is question from Yash. He says, can the employer terminate the employee in the pandemic situation if he had been told about the termination of a month ago? Yeah, definitely, yes. He can terminate him anytime, provided he is not a worker. Yeah, then there is a question from Kanishk. Wages are fixed, but if the concerned person is not at site or place of work paid for working days, how will it be treated here? Yes, I know that wages are fixed, but that notification will come in the way if you want to renegotiate them. So no matter what, you have to pay the wages. Then there is question from Nitesh. That's again meant for me, Nitesh. I will address it one to one. There is a question from Ajit. Classify wages or salary on the basis of amount. Up to what amount employs the worker? The amount which has been specified in the statute is 6,500 rupees per month. So then you can make out what comes under wages and what comes under salary. Ajit is joining us from Rajasthan. Yeah, Siddharth is asking, everyone has a salary. It's not like that. The people who are earning less than 6,500, they come under, they classify for being as workers, whereas all other come under employees, category of employees. Contractual employees, it depends on whether they are getting a salary or a wage. If they're getting salary, they will not come under category of workers. If they are uh, getting wages, then only they will be qualified for that, and they can take help of that notification. The helper in the company has a wage of 8,000 per month. Yes, so he will not be, he cannot take advantage of that notification. So these are all migrant workers, small segment people, so that they can sustain their food. They can sustain on food. That is the intention behind that notification. And then there is one question from Naman. These days, many of the people have rent as main source of income. Whether a tenant can deny to pay the rent on account of COVID-19, what are the other remedies left to the lessor? Or yes, that's again, Naman, connecting back to the previous query. There are a lot of people who are relying upon rent as the source of income, and this force majeure does not fall under the category of lease, which says that since now the contract has become onerous, it has hit the profitability of the tenant. So it does not mean that tenant can invoke this clause and get away with the rent at all. That's the legal aspect of it. Now, what I recommend is that if you restructure the rent with the tenant, then it's a win-win situation for both the landlord as well as the tenant. Then there is a question from, yeah, Yuvraj is yes, Yuvraj, there is a all those who are getting less than 6,500, yes, they come under the bracket of wages. Siddharth is, do we have more questions? Yeah, there is hand. Yes. Yes, yes. You want to say something? Yes, yes has raised his hand. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for organizing this chat meeting. I just want to clarify if there is any remedy available for the employee terminated in this pandemic situation.
That termination has been on the ground of lockdown or otherwise?
Otherwise,
Otherwise, okay. So then there is a prior history to the termination.
yes.
I have to look into why he has been terminated. Because if he has been terminated on the ground of lockdown, then you can take excuse of that notification. But if there is a history connected to that termination, then one has to go into why he has been terminated. Because lot of employers are doing that. Some employees, they were hired on a probationary period. So now they are taking excuse of that probationary period and terminating a lot of employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
If they are doing work or not. There's a question from Siddharth. He says, can I get form filled by my employees that they are doing work or not, and then we can use that to decide during payment? Yes, definitely. We gave a recommendation that keep your communications recorded. So that will help you. That definitely, and this has opened up a new, I would say, new way of working out things, where there will be more transparency at every end, whether he or she is an employer, whether he or she is an employee. So that's a good thing that has happened. That's a blessing in disguise, I would say, Siddharth. Uh, there is one. Yes, Shweta.
There is a question from Sunita. Can you address that in the chat?
Question from Sunita.
If during the pandemic situation, one of my employees leaves for his village, am I supposed to pay wages to him?
Am I supposed to pay wages to him? Yes, yes. If he's a worker, definitely yes. You have to pay wages. You cannot terminate the employment. That is what the notification says. I hope I answered that, Sunita.
And also there is a query from Ajit that my tenant has sent me written notice to exempt him from rent under FM clause.
My tenant has sent a notice under FM clause.
Yeah.
Legal position is that FM clause cannot be invoked by the tenant. I do not know what is the nature of business which the tenant is there in. Suppose tenant is a pharmaceutical company, or tenant is a hospital, or tenant is a mass manufacturing unit, then tenant obviously cannot take the plea of force majeure or FM. Now, and otherwise also, the legal position is that since it's a financial obligation on the part of the tenant, so financial obligation is not either hindered or either prohibited by the situation. So there is no excuse that the tenant could not have discharged his financial obligations. What happens is that it hits the profitability of the tenant. What happens is that it makes the contract onerous on the tenant. So these two excuses do not fall under FM or force majeure. But that's a very good question. I think it will help other participants as well. There is one, okay. Thanks Ajit for those remarks. Zoya, thanks for that remark. We have Yash. Kindly file the petition to exempt the middleman from paying rent and electricity and other bills for the period of pandemic. No, since again that payment of bills, the question is, the test is, I would say, to invoke force majeure or FM is that whether you are hindered or whether you are prohibited from discharging your obligation. That's the test to invoke that. Now, towards the payment of electricity bill, you are not hindered or you are not prohibited by the lockdown. So hence, you cannot take plea of FM in not paying your electricity bill. That's a different story, whether the government gives you subsidy, whether the government of the day bails you out from that or not. But the legal position is that you cannot get out of that obligation. Yes, I think it answers your query. There is a question from Sheetal. It says, follow up on tenant question, can a tenant defer rent for up to 2 months taking advantage of lockdown? Yeah, that will be again between the landlord and the tenant. You can have suspension of the contract. That will fall under that category. You can defer the payment. Obviously, yes. But the legal position, as I said earlier, is that the tenant has to pay the rent. The tenant cannot take the excuse of lockdown. That's the legal position. Now it is between the tenant and the landlord how they work upon a solution among themselves. Then there is a remark by Siddharth. He says in some separate webinar, explain force majeure in detail. Yeah, definitely, Siddharth. We can have one separate session on the contract if every participant thinks it that way. Then there is Sunita is okay. That is meant for me, I guess. Sunita has a query which I think will help other participants as well. So Sunita, I'm sharing it with in the public. Sunita asked his guard to stay back, but the guard refused and went back to his village, which was against his wish. So in that situation, does Sunita has to pay the wages? The answer is yes, Sunita. Fortunately, the notification helps him. Perhaps he must have approached a lawyer. Then there is one, since pandemic has been declared as force majeure, then why it cannot be invoked by tenant? Yeah, that's a very good question. Force majeure, there are conditions for force majeure. Although the event has been declared as a force majeure, whether this condition prohibits you or whether this condition is an impediment in discharge of your obligations, that is the question before invoking the force majeure. You cannot invoke force majeure just like that. There may be situations when there is a rise in prices of the products, which will hit your profitability. There will be a situation when you have to discharge your legal obligations under the contract, going overboard. Then in every situation, one cannot come and say that since it is affecting my profitability or it has become onerous on me to discharge the obligation, so I will invoke force majeure. No. You should be prohibited. You should be hindered. You should be prevented from discharging your obligation. That is the test. That is the yardstick for invoking a force majeure. As I shared, for the sake of repetition, I'm sharing again. There was an importer who invoked this clause, and the Bombay High Court held that you cannot invoke this because steel. He imported steel. Now he says that I will not make payments because the steel will be lying at the dock and I will not be in a position to distribute the steel. So court said, it is your headache, boss. You have to discharge your obligation of payment because the supplier has given you the steel. Steel falls under the essential items. There is no prohibition. There is no hindrance. There is no prevention. What for any sort. So hence you cannot run away from your obligation of the payment. Thanks, Sheetal. Thanks for participating. She says it's a wonderful session, very informative. Then there is a question from Yash. He says, sir, the person had not enough money to pay bills. Either he can pay bills or spend on the food in this situation. Definitely, yes, I empathize with you. You can defer the payment, and I think the power companies, they will come out with some amnesty schemes also in this, because of the economic difficulties which everyone is facing. I would not recommend you to pay your bills and starve to death. Thanks, Sunita. Thanks for participation. Then thanks, Mohit, for being there and asking such questions. Do house helps come under the category of worker? Yes, they come under the category of they come under the category of worker. Every employee is a worker, but what differentiates is that whether they're getting wages or whether they're getting salary. So if she's getting a wage, then she will take an she will come under the notification and she can take help of that notification. Thanks, Colonel Verma, for those remarks. Thanks for your participation and making it more lively. If somebody wants to speak, they can raise their hand and I can unmute that person before we end up this session, which is being followed by high tea. Yeah, there is one. Yes, Shweta, go ahead.
So there is a question from Yash that are force majeure and frustration of contract somehow related?
Yes, they are related. How they are related is that in case you don't have force majeure clause, then you rely on frustration of contract. Frustration of contract is an Indian version of force majeure. Force majeure is a foreign principle, foreign doctrine, foreign import. I hope that answers the question by Yash. Thanks, Kanishk. Thanks for those remarks. And then we have Yash wants to say something. Yes, yes. Go ahead, Yash. Thanks for your remarks. We have for a few more minutes before we end up this session. Would request everyone to be staying at home, stay safe, and give your feedback so that we can plan our next session, keeping that in mind. We will be sharing the details about the next session soon. Most probably we will keep it on Sunday. So everybody is available on Sunday. So we would like to keep it on Sunday. Thanks. Yes, this is you, all you participants who have made this session much more lively and healthy discussion in these tough times. So I'm not the same person who entered before the session. Each one of you has a deep impact after the session. It's a great learning for me as well. Zoya is asking for the PPT. Yeah, definitely we can share the PPT with you. Not an issue, Zoya. There is one. I think we can take up other queries individually, and looking forward for feedback for this session from each one of you, and would like to thank team Niti Nyay for organizing such a wonderful session, and team Sanchay Tech for giving their technical support in organizing this discussion. And I thank individually all of you for showing your interest in these times and making it more informative, healthy discussion. Thank you guys, and look forward to the next session.